That is a big animal. Whoa. I need to adjust my nose plug.
I was just kind of enjoying myself for a second, and I heard a loud gunshot.
Long ways away from anybody.
Seasoned campers rely on steady judgment, calm focus, and smart prep to stay safe when nature doesn't cooperate. But even then, the margin for error is thin. In this script, a farmhouse cleanup turns tense when a hidden snake shifts under dry leaves, and violent scratching erupts inside the wall after dark. Far up Alaska's coast, fresh grizzly tracks and a rotting walrus leave a scent trail leading straight to camp. If skill can't control what follows, what do you do first? On January 25, 2021, Heidi continues restoring her rural farmhouse on the YouTube channel Lil Red Heidi Hood, known for homesteading and farm life. That day, she enters a 150-year-old wood shop and the farmhouse attic, spaces left untouched for decades. What should be routine work slowly feels uneasy, as the old structures respond with silence, movement, and sounds that don't fully explain themselves.
In the wood shop with me, you guys, this is an absolute snake den, but I'm trying to find some good pieces of wood. So I'm gonna try to find and salvage a few pieces of wood to build something here in a minute. Stay tuned and see what I can find. Oh, I just know there's a snake under there.
Oh, pay attention to your hand. Oh, that's pretty. Yeah.
Look at that.
Awesome.
Really cool.
Awesome.
That would actually match that other
I
piece.
was thinking the same thing.
The way they cut it, old mill. The way that's got these lines on there. I don't see another one.
Yeah, I like those thick ones that were up under that. Pull that up and out of the way.
I'm trying. What do you think I'm doing? You think this is a Build-A-Bitch workshop? Which one am I trying to get?
Yeah, what happened to those neat ones I saw under that piece? Right behind that piece that looks like a wood. That looks like real wood.
Yeah. Oh, God. I want my death to be documented.
It's kind of a slow death when a snake bites you. I've been after Heidi for months, so let's get out here and clean out this workshop and separate the wood.
I ain't even getting paid for this.
Yeah, it'll be rewarding.
No, it won't.
That's a big bad boy.
Ooh, that's pretty. Alright, I think I'm done for a minute. Look at this piece. That is gorgeous. The knots are still intact and everything.
Yeah. I want that piece.
You kidding me? Gotta put in the work, sis.
Inside the 150-year-old wood shop, Heidi repeatedly warns that this place is a snake den. Every step is careful, every piece of wood lifted slowly. The fear isn't from what is seen.
What is this supposed to be doing? Just give me some light. Where?
Right there. You might can just do that piece of cement. Oh no.
Look at all those ladybugs.
I know, that's behind the chimney. You can't get to the boards to replace them there.
But from what could be hiding beneath the floor and lumber. Later, Heidi climbs into the farmhouse attic. The space is dark, cramped, and filled with bat droppings. Sunlight leaks through holes in the roof, revealing decay, age, and how exposed the house truly is.
The woodshed, it got quite spidery. Saw a couple black widows. The rest of the stuff that's in there is just little rotten. So took a break, and my mom is up on the roof now.
Back in the wood shop, the tension rises when Heidi confirms black widow spiders. Cleanup turns dangerous. One wrong move here could mean more than just a scare. Near the end of the video, the earlier warnings become real.
You guys, I just heard a snake slithering. I couldn't see it though, it was up under. No, I just saw it slithering up under a bunch of these leaves over here in this corner. And I heard it first, and then I saw the leaves moving, and I threw something over there and it went. So I kind of think we should go in there into that corner. Right over there, like see where that I threw that piece right there? It's laying flat. Alright, just be quiet. I'm gonna throw something else and see if we can hear it. You hear it? It's right under there. You hear it? You can't deny that.
What are you doing?
I'm trying to find out where he is.
Well, he could be coming out this way.
Dry leaves suddenly shift. The sound is unmistakable. A snake is moving just beneath the surface. Close, hidden, and very much alive.
Something's in the wall.
But I'm sure it's a squirrel.
Yeah, it sounds more aggressive than the last one.
As night settles in, harsh scratching and banging erupt from inside the wooden wall. The noise grows aggressive and close. Neither Heidi nor her mother can identify what's inside, leaving the encounter unresolved. Some viewers suggest animals, poor insulation, or rodents inside the walls, reasonable explanations for an aging farmhouse. But if it's only animals, why did the sounds feel intentional? And why did everyone suddenly go still? Hold on a sec. If you're enjoying this so far, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Let's continue. On November 15th, 2025, Luke from the YouTube channel Outdoor Boys is dropped alone on a remote stretch of Alaska's Bering Sea coastline. Known for survival and wilderness education, the channel follows Luke into extreme environments. This trip has a grim goal: finding a dead walrus washed ashore after a storm, before bears or the tide reach it first. Out here, isolation feels like a warning.
Look at this. See, there's the fresh grizzly bear tracks, and you can tell that there's layers of old prints underneath that. Grizzly bears like to walk up and down the same trails. I definitely don't want to leave my gear on this trail or I'm going to have bear problems. I got off the grizzly bear trail and I can see another trail going right through here. You can see here the hoof prints. These are all caribou tracks. I've got about 3.5 miles to go down that beach to get to the walrus carcass. Most of my gear right here and hope the bears don't find it before I get back.
While hiking the shoreline, Luke notices fresh grizzly bear tracks pressed into the wet sand. They're large, clear, and recent. This moment is unsettling because it confirms the area is active, and whatever made them could still be close.
That body is going to be a long and disgusting process, so I think I'm going to have myself some lunch before I get started. I'll be honest, it doesn't smell very good where I'm sitting, and once it's going to get much worse. So I brought along some earplugs. It may look ridiculous, but it's worth it. I don't know. This may seem like overkill, but anything that gets rotten walrus on it will not be allowed back into my house. Oh, I need to adjust my nose plugs. Oh, that was bad. That was the worst smell I've ever smelled in my life. Oh. Well, I got through the skin and now I'm just trying to figure out where the walrus's neck is. And where the head ends and the body begins is not exactly obvious. So I'm having to cut away pieces and kind of search around, and it's, I nicked my glove. Gotta make sure my finger's okay. I'm not sure if he even went all the way through the skin. It's really common for walruses to have trichinosis, and I don't want to catch any weird diseases. Well, I spent about an hour cutting. Sit down with the knife and cut off as many bits of flesh as I can. And I don't care how ridiculous these nose plugs look, they're an absolute lifesaver. That is noticeably heavier. But now that I've got my walrus head, I've got to hold on to it. I guess I'm technically trolling for bears at this point. A little break, a little drink, a little snack. Let's do another quarter mile or two. Oh, my back. Oh. But if I keep taking breaks, I think I can save my back. Tell you, this is exhausting, but what a beautiful day to be exhausted. And not being mauled by a bear is just a real cherry on top. I'm really anxious to see if any animals mess with my stuff. Probably gonna be okay. Looks like my gear's all here. Yay, I am tired. Oh, there's a hole in the bag and the walrus head just leaked goo all over the sled. I got maybe an hour before it gets really dark, so I'm gonna try to gather firewood. Tell you what, firewood's a lot lighter than walrus heads.
Further down the beach, Luke finds the walrus. The massive carcass is bloated and rotting. He works beside it, cutting through flesh while fighting the overwhelming stench. The scene is disturbing not just for what he's doing, but where. An open coastline where the smell of death can travel for miles.
The fire doesn't need to be big and scary. It doesn't need to last all night. Sending smoke downwind the same direction as that walrus smell. So any bear that picks up the smell of the walrus will also know there's a human here. Most animals around. I'm seeing the last little bit of the sun disappear over the horizon. All right, guys, I'm going to sleep. I'll see you in the morning. I'm going to bed.
As daylight fades, Luke drags the severed walrus head toward camp, openly calling it trolling for bears. Each step leaves a trail of blood and scent, effectively advertising his location in known grizzly territory as darkness closes in. Night settles over the camp. Luke retreats into his tent while mosquitoes swarm the mesh, drawn by heat and lingering odor. The beach goes silent. With predators unseen and nowhere to go, he forces himself to sleep, knowing rest is the only way to continue. Luke never encounters a bear on camera, but with fresh tracks and a scent trail stretching for miles, the question remains, did nothing follow him? Or did something simply choose to stay unseen? On June 17, 2022, Bahadur camps alone beside a forest lake as a violent storm moves in. The footage comes from Tikchur Wilderness, Bahadur Kulich, a channel known for silent, realistic solo camping. No narration, just rain, thunder, and a night that won't settle. He secures his tent near the water as the rain intensifies, knowing that once the storm peaks, leaving won't be possible. The location feels exposed, open lake, surrounding trees, no solid shelter. Inside the tent, he lights a small stove and seals himself in. Rain and thunder hammer the fabric inches from his face. What makes it unsettling isn't what he sees, but what he hears, and how fragile the barrier really is. As water begins flowing near the tent, he stays still, conserving energy. With no safer option, he lies down and forces himself to rest, waiting for the storm to pass. Viewers describe the fear as subtle. Nothing attacks, yet constant weather pressure creates real psychological stress. It looks peaceful on screen, but would it feel the same if you were alone inside that tent all night? On June 18, 2020, Luke from Restless Wanderer Backpacking shares a story he rarely talks about. Known for calm, family-friendly camping content, this video breaks that pattern. Set deep in Colorado's Rampart Range, it reveals how a quiet campsite can turn unsettling without warning and without escape. Luke recalls sleeping with his family at a remote campsite when engines suddenly ripped through the darkness at 4 a.m. Safety vanished instantly.
That four-wheeler comes all the way back up, and it stops right next to our tent. All we hear from outside is, F this, mother F this, I'll fight every F'er out here, that. Angry, drunk yelling from right outside of our tent. So my wife and I kind of get up and we're listening to what's going on. We are in national forest, no cell service, just us. And then the gal starts yelling at my wife. F you, F this. And my wife says, hey, you need to move back. You need to move back, bitch. So my wife was a D1 athlete. She's in good shape. She's very strong. I would have no chance with her. So I looked at the guy and I said, I don't want them throwing down, man. At which point he said, you want some too? And he threw his fist like really high up like this. Like, I said, you don't want them to throw down, and I'm a lot older. So at this point, I'm just trying to de-escalate the situation. I have him in my car, but I got nothing here to help. I apologize. Get mad, and they kind of come together and start yelling at each other and walking off into the forest. So guys, at this point, they're walking through the forest. Can't really hear them anymore. I go back in the tent and I'm telling my wife and kids, maybe I should give them a ride.
I could give them a ride 2 miles, and they'll be done.
My family was like, they're really drunk and they might hurt you. You don't know what the situation is. Let's not do that. We have to figure out what are we gonna do, right? So now we have 30 or 40 minutes probably before they come back. Do we know who's back at camp that's gonna be coming with them? Might they have a weapon or something with them? We don't know. So first thought for my wife was, let's pack up and go. Let's get out of here. Let's just not even, which is the right move. However, we had
2 intoxicated strangers wandered into the camp, shouting near the tent where his children slept. The fear came from unpredictability, drunk behavior, close proximity, and nowhere to retreat. When one man grew aggressive and the woman moved toward Luke's wife, violence felt imminent. Luke chose restraint, keeping his family together, lighting the camp and preparing to defend without escalating. At first light, they packed and left. The lesson lingered. In the wilderness, the greatest danger can be other people. Viewers overwhelmingly agree. Alcohol, isolation, and darkness turn ordinary people into the most unpredictable threat outdoors. Nothing violent happened that night. But if tempers rose just slightly higher, would this still be a story or a headline? On October 11, 2025, Igor ventures deep into the forest for a solo survival challenge with guns. The footage comes from Silver Star, a channel centered on rugged wilderness camping and self-reliance. The scene appears calm, but the setup feels defensive, as if the night ahead demands vigilance rather than rest. Igor commits fully to the cave, reinforcing its entrance with branches and positioning his camp inside solid stone. He isn't settling in, he's fortifying. The narrow space limits movement, creating the uneasy sense that this shelter is meant to be held, not enjoyed. As darkness falls, he finishes his meal by the fire. The glow offers warmth, but also feels exposed, like a beacon in an otherwise silent forest. Later that night, Igor wakes suddenly. He grips his rifle and listens, standing still in the cave's mouth. Nothing is visible, only darkness and the possibility of something unseen nearby. Eventually, he forces himself back to sleep. Morning comes without incident, yet the unease remains because nothing happened, and that's what made the night unsettling. Viewers note the preparation felt aimed at unseen danger, suggesting fear of people or wildlife without confirming either. If the forest stayed quiet all night, what convinced Igor to prepare as if it wouldn't? On October 20th, 2025, Brian enters the Great Smoky Mountains alone, documenting the journey for Black Mass Paranormal, a channel focused on cryptids, feral people, and unexplained wilderness activity. There's no build-up, just a quiet ride into terrain where stories refuse to stay buried.
That happened in the Smoky Mountains happened to a gentleman named Brad. Then one day in November, he was just outside of the Abrams Falls area,
is in the mountains, and he'd been through here several times, but he talked about how the air seemed to be a lot different that day. So he was navigating in an area, and as he navigated the rocky incline, a sour smell kind of hit him. He described it as like a mixture of sweat and rot. Brad froze, and he was looking in the section of and he said that, again, the forest just was too quiet. The usual chatter of birds, one or two that just had a completely different sound that he had never heard before. You know what I'm talking about. And then he saw it right above the ridgeline. He described it as human. Its face and its jawline were distorted. He described its eyes were like hollow. Feral people. He was wearing what he thought was some sort of hide. Brad was totally freaked out. A hunting knife. While he wasn't sure if it was somebody, he just decided that he was going to scream, "Hey!" Its head tilted with a really unnatural jerk. Then it ran.
Near Abrams Falls, Brian recounts an encounter shared by a man named Brad. The air reportedly shifted, followed by a foul, decaying odor. Nothing appears on camera, but the location feels tainted by what was seen there before.
So welcome back to another Black Mass adventure. This might be kind of cool. Alright, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be, the reason why, really for two main reasons. I have found several different prints of very large canine on multiple occasions. This area also, I have found cages. So you might be thinking, Brian, there's all kinds of reasons.
Brian rides deeper along remote logging roads, explaining his plan to place trail cameras far from tourist areas. The forest grows denser. Isolation is intentional and unsettling, because help would be impossible if something went wrong.
I was just kind of enjoying myself for a second, and I heard a loud gunshot. That means somebody it was just a single shot. That would be a warning shot. Now, in the state of Tennessee, in the Smoky Mountain National Park, it is illegal to do warning shots, but that does not stop people from doing warning shots. If it came down to it, like if my family was around and there was a bear, I don't know how good this angle is going to be, but I'm trying to figure out what that warning shot was. So I have, on now multiple occasions in this area, found that's a bear. Large canine prints. Let me find them. Hang on, y'all. Gotta kind of locate this bear. He's definitely, the wind's coming from that direction. Yeah.
A sudden gunshot echoes through the trees. Hunting is illegal here. Shortly after, Brian notices large canine-like tracks. The fear comes from contradiction, sounds and signs that shouldn't exist in a protected park.
Now, the Sasquatch is also pretty active in this area. After that last video, where I heard the footsteps. It's having run-ins with timbers this year. Because I want to set up a trail cam, and just so you all know, my RF detector is like, and I don't really have that feeling of being watched either. I'm going to come out tonight because there is this gravel road. It is a good area for the feral people to kind of come down and hunt. Oh, weird. And this just jumped. That might have been me with the phone though. Obviously there's no cell service up here, but it's still an electronic device. I'm looking for areas where things may have...
Near Native American land, Brian repeatedly hears footsteps circling him. His devices show nothing. The sounds continue anyway. Viewers are split. Feral people, dogman, or something else entirely. But if nothing was there, why do the footsteps stop only when he does? On January 28, 2022, van life creators Rachel and Tommy, a YouTube channel centered on off-grid travel, remote camping, and life on the road, settle into a remote mountain forest campsite far from town, where cell service is weak and the night feels unusually heavy. Tommy makes one thing clear. This isn't a paranormal channel.
We've been out here a couple of nights. Been very quiet, very normal feeling. And since everyone's left except us, and I don't know how to explain that, it has felt more, obviously we're not a paranormal channel, we're not a ooh spooky crap channel. It's just not what we do. We're van life. I don't know what I heard. It almost sounded like a, I don't want to say a roar because then people are going to start thinking what I'm thinking, but it was almost like a, best description I have of it is, it sounded like, and don't laugh when I say this, the T-Rex in Jurassic Park. I've been wrong before, you know, but I just don't feel like there's going to be any T-Rexes or velociraptors out here. I would think, you know, maybe it's one of those flat, like a jet boat. There aren't really no mountain lions here. You know, there are bobcats, but I don't know that they do the... Where I heard the sound was back down this way. So we'll walk down here and see what's going on.
But once the other campers leave, the woods don't feel empty. They feel watchful. Weird things start stacking up. The forest that should feel quiet suddenly turns restless with unfamiliar sounds.
Can y'all hear this? Can you hear this? Yeah, I do not know what that, I don't know what that was. So we've been sitting here for about 45 minutes. I don't know, 40 minutes. Rachel, she wouldn't know if she could hear something, so we've been sitting here, except where the wind is down. Have you heard anything? Maybe so. So when we sit in the van at night and it's chilly, homeboy just says, "Nope, I'm out." Sits under the heater and just chills. I don't blame him though, because it can get chilly in here.
Their dog, Badger, acts differently, locking onto darkness. In the distance, the calls of wild animals only sharpen the fear, turning sleep into a luxury.
Can y'all hear the... Well, they are getting it, aren't they? Yeah. Oh, it's showing up.
They're close.
Yeah, nearly open this. Why'd they stop all of a sudden?
It's like 2:30 now. Woke up, I felt the van move, heard somebody try to open the door, and started moving around. I heard some steps and I heard a vehicle take off from up over here. And I got outside and I could hear the steps, or I could hear the vehicle. I could hear the tires rolling on gravel, and they went up this way and then made a left, and I could see tail lights, and they sat there for a minute. You know, I can deal with a lot of stuff, animals trying to get in the van, you know, but we're out here a long ways away from anybody, and somebody trying to get in the van when it's obviously somebody's camping here. We're camping, and yeah, somebody just come and brazenly try to get in. I'm gonna wait here just for a minute. I'm standing outside. Gonna be quiet now. Yeah, we're out here.
Then, at 2:30 a.m., they're jolted awake by the most unsettling sound of all. Someone testing the van's door handle. The moment they react, the intruder takes off into the dark. The sounds could have natural explanations, cats, coyotes, shifting acoustics, but the silence and Badger's focus suggest a real presence. The handle check points to human intent. If a place feels wrong, do you trust your instincts? Or stay until you learn why? That's all for tonight's video. Which encounter gave you chills? Let us know in the comments below. Got your own experience? We want to hear it. And whatever you do, don't miss what's coming next.